Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Council Matters on this fabulous Dublin sunny day. And today we're welcoming a returning graduate of Council Matters, the man who goes by the initials GG. We'll discover, is he a thoroughbred or is he just built for the national? Anyway, I'm going to welcome back Gary Gannon. Gary, welcome back again to Council Matters.
Thank you, Mick. Delighted to be here, as usual.
Gary, every time you come back, you've almost got a different guise. The first time round, you were Gary Gannon, the candidate. The last time you were here, you were Gary Gannon, the councillor. And now you're up a level again. You're Gary Gannon, the Oireachtas candidate. Quite a significant movement, as we say, in a short period of time.
Actually, I was thoughtful like that, Mick. Yeah, but it just seems like a natural progression, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, conversations I'm having on the door, people are ready for change. There hasn't been a lot of change in my constituency in the last 20 years, so there seems to be a hunger for it. Yep,
well, that seems to be a sentiment we're getting across the board now. Whether that will translate, whether the words will translate into action is to be seen. But I just wonder, Gary, and as I say, I'm not playing the age argument here, but has this perhaps come maybe a bit too early for yourself, in the sense that you're there on the council just over a year? My view was that I thought maybe you were going to go for the Senate. Tell us why you've decided to go for the Oireachtas this time round.
I had no intention of going for the Senate.
Had you not? Oh, we had you down there as the working class hero with the bastion of privilege.
Lovely, actually. Let me reiterate. Yeah, we have a look at that. No, in terms of why I'm going for the Dáil, I put a lot of thought into it. And I suppose the reason I'm going for the Dáil now is because I actually believe in the manner in which I would do it. Going as a social democrat, I can actually see the vision. I know that being in the Dáil now would actually probably have positive ramifications for my community. So that's why I'm going now.
Okay, let's look at it then. Last time round you were an independent. Now you're going forward as a social democrat. How did that come about? I mean, was it eyes met over a crowded meeting, or did they come to you and said, "Ooh, you look good," or did you go to them and you said, "I'm available"? How did it come about?
Lashes at each other. No, Mick, I was involved in the independent network last year with Catherine Murphy, and I have enormous respect for Catherine Murphy. So the last year of being a councillor, it's very eye-opening, and I'm looking at my constituency over 30 years and thinking there's been some really good independents there, but what we actually need is some really strong legislators. And so I was kind of a little bit disillusioned with my work as an independent. I was helping people one person at a time, and it was never ever going to be enough. So I wanted to be a legislator, but there was never a party out there that was suited me, that I felt I could align myself with, until Catherine Murphy, Roisin Shorthorn, Stephen Donnelly came along, and I said, actually, yeah, I'd love to be a part of that.
Okay, then as you appreciate, when you go up the divisions, the tackles come in a bit harder, and that's to be expected. You've got a lot of supporters out there, particularly in the North Inner City. Of course, you get some detractors as well. And one of the issues that the detractors say, that Gary Gannon, he's been with everybody. I think I've had you down as everybody except the DUP and the SNP. Sure. In other words, they're saying you suffer from the pretty girl syndrome, in the sense that if you're popular, you've got to be a bit of a slut. What's the story then? Obviously, at this stage, you've settled on the Social Democrats. Did you play footsie with others there along the way?
No, not at all, Mick. I mean, you have to take into consideration. As you mentioned at the start of this programme, I am quite young. I'm 28. Yeah. I didn't read the front of a newspaper until I was about 21. So my political alignment's been in the North Inner City, in the community development sector, and I'm kind of finding myself politically. I was always issue formed, so I haven't actually been connected with any party. A couple of parties have tried to take ownership of me. I don't know what that's about. But I interned with Sinn Féin, which is very much on record. I had to do it as part of a master's I was doing. I'm connected to another group in which I'm not sure how. It's just coming up in the North Inner City. You have to. Sure. The only politicians I knew were Tony Gregory, and I still have a lot of admiration for that man. But in terms of, this is the first political party I've ever joined.
Does that mean you have to compromise in a way that you've got a fairly, if you like, blank page when you are an independent? Does this mean working a lot more working as a team?
Yeah, it's a lot more working as a team, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of compromising, absolutely no. I mean, that was one of my big considerations when I made the change from being an independent to a SOC Dem. Will I have to compromise on any one principle which I stood for election on last year? And I don't. In a matter of fact, they're enhanced. I mean, I'm going dealing with people daily who have extreme needs, extreme housing needs, issues of unemployment. They're issues that need to be tackled at a legislative level. I can't keep lying to people and saying that I can help you one place at a time, because I couldn't. I was only putting my finger in the dam. As part of the Social Democrats, I've enhanced my own principles, and that's what got me. That's what really attracted me here.
Yep. Look, when I was looking at the Social Democrats last night and looking at the people who are announced as candidates, I thought, now, if they were a Premier Division team, who would I compare them to? And I'm not being derogatory here.
Sure.
I thought I'll compare you to Bournemouth, in the sense that you've made some strides. You've got into the Premier Division, which you wouldn't have been in last year. You've got some experienced players and some potential stars coming along the way. Turning that into, what would then the view be coming out of this election? What's a good result? Consolidation? Or?
Well, first, I wouldn't compare yourself to Bournemouth. I think at the moment, I'd say it's more of a Crystal Palace. Yeah, we got into the Premier League recently, but we're doing well up there at the top. We've got some good players and a good structure, and we can see where we're going. What was in terms of where the vision is we're surrounding ourselves with good people at the moment. We're making conversations that are actually catching on in people's mind. I mean, I've been out canvassing last night. The feedback from the doors was very positive. We're looking to build a movement here, Mick, and that's going to be a long-term vision. Okay.
When I look at the Social Democrats, and going back to the personalities, two of the very prominent personalities there, Roisin Shortall, Catherine Murphy, both Labour Party affiliations along the way. So are Social Democrats what I would call Labour Party, more unadulterated Labour Party, or true Labour Party, or provisional Labour Party, whatever you want? Or is this a completely different vision of looking at the world?
No, Mick, I think in terms of, up until very recently in Irish politics, we had basically a 2.5 party structure since the foundation of the state. So now we have some new movements emerging, so inevitably some people are going to have connections. What we are as the Social Democrats, our name sets out our vision. We're not anybody else. We're Social Democrats. We're very clear on what we stand for. It's a strong economy, open government, and an absolute emphasis on social justice. What's different about us? What's different about us and why I've joined is because I actually believe it. The three TDs that set up this party, they walk the walk in that domain.
If let's go to numbers then. I mean, over the years, particularly when I was growing up, it was always Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and maybe a couple of the Labour Party really didn't come into it until about the 70s, and then it oscillated, and then we got the PDs. By and large, and I think this is going to be a very interesting election, irrespective of what happened, the 3 or the 2.5 parties, as you call them, pretty much walked away with 80% of the seats. In other words, the system was set up to favour the larger parties. This time round, I'm interested to see how that fares out, because the numbers are saying independents and others, which yourself would be, are doing very well. I still reckon the major parties will probably get 60-65% of the seats. That's a bit of scrambling around for a lot of other groups on the sideline. I'm not saying that it leaves a lot less of the pie sort of thing. Would you agree with that, in terms of what the return will be?
I mean, we've got a challenge ahead of us, but we're only 10 weeks in existence.
Sure.
We're already doing fairly well. We've got 3 very prominent TDs and some very good candidates. So in terms of the pie, we're going to get our fair share of it, I've no doubt about that. It's difficult, without a shadow of a doubt. We're up against a monster. When you think about kind of how well financed the parties are from the state, I think going up against that, we certainly have a David versus Goliath situation going on. But I'm very confident that the Social Democrats will take our fair share.
Okay, so you reckon the 3 existing will be returned?
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
Good. We like confidence, Gary. We like confidence. Let's look at your own. I mean, your own is what was it? Was it a 4-seater and it's down to a 3?
4-seater and it's down to a 3-seater.
Yeah, and you've got 4 councillors in there, 4 TDs as well at the moment. Many people are saying that only the 3rd seat's up for grabs at the first 2. How do you feel about that, or do you think there's any certainties in there?
There's no certainties in politics.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
There's absolutely no certainty.
But there is a front runner.
There is definitely a front runner. Mary Lou's the front runner.
Yeah.
After that, who's the second one that you're referring to?
Well, it could be Pascal.
Well, that's interesting. Okay.
It depends on whether there's an anti-government backlash.
Well, that's certainly not the feeling I'm getting at the door. But in terms of what's up for grabs, what I absolutely want to do in this election And I want to make sure there's a conversation happening, a real conversation about how we can enact change in Dublin Central. I mean, that's real change. I mean, when you think about 30 years ago, the Gregory deal of 30 years ago, what's actually changed since then? We still have kind of issues with housing, issues with kind of educational inequality, issue with health inequality. I want to make sure that we're having a conversation about how, if elected, the people elected are going to actually strive to change that. That for me, that in itself will be a victory. But I think there's a huge appetite for change out there.
If you leaving aside the dispute on whether Pascal will get it or not, but he does come with an enormous Santa bag full of goodies that you and all the other candidates and even Mary Lou herself doesn't bring. We'll assume that gives him a slight advantage in that sense of the word. If I have a look at
what's in that Santa bag though? I mean, does he have smaller classroom sizes in that Santa bag? Does he have a primary healthcare centre? All I've heard in that I've certainly seen the wish list, but I haven't actually seen the toys yet.
You're not saying that if global warming comes along that Santa might melt and his workshop might melt away. On that very point then, if you have a look, and feel free to correct me on this, if I have a look at the other runners and riders after those two, there's pretty much an awful lot of left-wing candidates fighting for the same ground. Am I correct in looking at the demographic that way?
In terms of left? Yeah, I think, there would be people who would very much associate themselves as left. Yeah. I want to know about the vision of what that left will actually mean for the constituency. I want to know, so if you're saying you're left, which many are, what does that mean for people in Dublin Central?
Okay. Let's come to that then. I mean, if I have a look at what the Social Democrats have put out, first of all, we have better politics. Nobody's going to disagree with that. What's wrong with the existing politics then?
What's wrong with the existing? You walk the same streets as I do, mate. Yeah, I know. In terms of the existing politics, it certainly hasn't. It seems to operate for a little bit more privilege than everybody else. In terms of better politics, in terms of what that means to the Social Democrat, have a look at its hideous reflection. I mean, take Roisin Shortall, for example. She left a government ministerial position on a moral that she just didn't like the politics that were being presented at the moment and commit herself to making that change. I think that's what we mean about better politics.
Are you saying then that what we're getting is essentially a lot of careerists going in, coming along doing the political theatre every few years, and then at the end of the day they go in there and vote along whatever is established by a small group of people?
I wouldn't refer to many people as political careers. I think people go into politics for the right reasons. But take a look, have you learned any lessons?
Okay.
Have a look at the conversations that's going on at the moment about kind of the issue of all the goodie bag that you referred to.
Yeah, okay.
When are we going to stop pretending that buying votes at election time is a prudent way of managing an economy? It's not. When do we actually say that the best way of putting more money into people's pockets is to actually reduce the cost of living? But that's investing in services. That's having actual projects on the ground that are going to make better the lives of people who actually need it.
Okay, let's look at a couple of things here, Gary. I mean, when I was on Vincent Browne, I described the electorate in pretty much across the country into two categories: those who are primarily affected by austerity, which is the vast majority, and those who clearly are, their focus is on prosperity. How does that, if you like, analysis play out up in Dublin Central? I mean, clearly there are both groups there.
Well, to be honest, I don't see too much of the second group you mentioned.
The prosperity?
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly, we're not walking around in 90. Yeah. We've got a lot of poverty in Dublin Central. Yeah. I mean, that was something that really was eye-opening for me when I was elected as a councillor. It was a kind of a poverty that didn't even speak its name. People are kind of shared in six people and more to 2-bedroom flats. I don't see how actually prosperity... Actually, when the principal of St. Lard's Hill, Mark Gannon, he tells a good story about this prosperity. He says that the boom came to his school down in Sheriff Street when there was a couple of more cars in the driveway and these kids weren't getting coal sores constantly. Yeah. I mean, that's not boom.
Oh, no, but what I'm saying is that if you look at the geography, and I'm not going to get too much about this, smack in the middle of your constituency is the IFSC.
Yes.
These guys are not remotely interested.
It operates as an embassy in my constituency.
Oh, okay, exactly. As I say, it's an onshore tax haven as far as I'm concerned. But that's a personal view, I should add. But These people are far more interested in the LIBOR, these people are far more interested in the dollar-euro exchange rate, the price of oil, than they are about social welfare rates or public housing or anything like that. I mean, do you say, well, that's a constituency, rightly or wrongly, that doesn't really come into my ambit, or do you have to address the issues that they're concerned with? Because some people would say that's where the source of the inequality begins. Yeah.
I mean, of course. I think one of the beliefs that I have is that capitalism has to pay its way. And in the last 20 years in Ireland, that certainly hasn't been the case. I mean, we have this remarkable divide, and actually it's in Dublin Central, between kind of the IFSC and kind of the heart of Shire Street North Wall. And it's literally separated by a line. And you see kind of inequalities as prosperity so pronounced. And it kind of sums up to the wealth divide in Ireland. But I mean, we need to find a way of actually making sure that capitalism pays its way.
One of the, as I say, one of the sites I was really impressed when I saw it was the 24th of May, when we were all up at Dublin Castle, and people, to me, voted for equality. That, you know, leaving aside the same-sex marriage.
It was wonderful, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a groundbreaking day. I mean, that was my 1916. Thank you very much. But what I've been saying to people is that equality we didn't vote for that, and then that's the end of it. Now we have to start making that equality happen. How do you feel about my analysis that says, particularly austerity economics disproportionately affects the 51% women, and that is an issue that we have to seriously look at?
Like my mother works in a women's centre down the North Wall. I mean, poverty is something which is most pronounced when it comes to women. And that's, I mean, it's even more so when it comes to lone parents. The vast majority of women, we have a shocking record when it comes to how we provide for women in this country. We look at childcare facilities. They're just firstly they're too expensive, secondly they're too hard to deal with. And what that does is completely remove lone parents, particularly female lone parents, from the workplace, and it just entrenches poverty. I think we've a lot to apologise for in that regard, and we've a lot to make up for. So when we talk about this budget that's coming in the next week, what impact is that going to have for the lives of working class women, or low income women as a whole? I mean, because I haven't heard that conversation. I've heard a conversation about buying votes through tax backs, but I haven't heard how actually is that going to better the lives of marginalised people.
Yeah. As you go around, Gary, I mean, something that I'm hearing more and more is that the whole, whatever about cuts in different areas, but we're seeing more and more where elderly parents are having to be looked after, people with disabilities are having to be looked after now in the home because there's not as much state support. Again, this disproportionately tends to fall on women again. Do you think these are issues that when you start talking about a special vision, these are things that we need to not only just look at, but make them, if you like, inequality proof or equality proof?
Equality proof budgets, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Yeah. That would be, that would, I mean, that's the goal. That's certainly what we have to work towards. Yeah. When we talk about actually who's benefited from this recovery, it certainly wasn't the people that benefited from the boom. Yeah. So when we're talking about actually, well, yes, equality done for me, it was incredible. No one going around. Yeah. I walked around kind of for a month there with kind of friends, people I met along the way. It was beautiful. Yeah. But what I loved about it was we were talking about the Ireland that we wanted to live in. That was an incredible conversation to have for people's hearts. For me, that really instilled the hunger in me. That's what I want to keep doing. Yeah. So when I talk about the Ireland I want to live in, it is a place where we look after the old, we look after elderly people. It's a case of you can actually get a hospital, there's primary care centres, you can be treated in a community care centre. Like, that's what we need to be doing. Yeah. Giving dignity to people, a roof over somebody's head, a place you can leave your children when you go off to work. I mean, that's what we have to be doing in society, particularly when we start talking about what it means to live in a republic over the next year.
Do we need to be carbonised?
We need hope. Yeah. We certainly need hope. We need a little bit. We need a little bit of vision. We need to believe that there's leaders out there who we believe in. Yeah. We haven't had that in a long time. Yeah. That's what I like about that. I mean, a lot of that. Sorry, I don't mean to sound like a party political broadcast, but it's my fourth interview. Yeah. That was
okay. So something else that Soc Dems have, shall we say, focused on solving the mortgage crisis. Now, clearly that comes into two areas again. In the austerity area, there's a whole range of ways that spins out of the mortgage rate going up, the ability to repay, the insecurity of being able to stay in your own home, all of those things. Of course, on the other side, if you've got your mortgage paid off, that's a very different thing altogether. You're probably more concerned with inheritance taxes. Is that an easy, shall we say, nexus to balance out the two different interests there?
Well, in terms of solving the mortgage crisis, that's just something we have to do. I'm a renter. Every year my rent goes up by 10% to the point where you nearly can't. So we need to solve that also. But I look at my brother. My brother bought a house during kind of towards the end of the boom, and I've seen the weight that placed on him and his wife. That needs to be solved. I think Stephen Donnelly's done remarkable work on that. When it comes to the inheritance tax, I mean, it's just that just blows my mind. It's just another kickback for people who already have it. It doesn't benefit it's not going to make us a better society, is it? No. It's not going to get people off trolleys. It's not going to get lower classrooms to teach of pupil sizes. It's not where we're going as a society. It seems just an easy kickback and a way of buying votes.
Yeah, but in the past, wouldn't inheritance taxes, we would have been concerned with that. Well, that's only going to affect the Tony O'Reillys. The likelihood is that it's going to affect some of those people up along the other end of the North Circular Road, up around Cabra, places like that. And again, they're probably not people who've got fortunes, but they're not doing. Don't get me wrong, they're comfortable. But without being rich, and isn't it a problem that we can tax the comfortable, but we can't really tax the rich? Yeah, isn't that a dilemma?
Yeah, I think it's a huge problem. I think it's something we need to be looking towards, and it needs to be. I think when we talk about how we want to legislate, it needs to be without fear or deference, and that's to anybody. And that's what it means to live in a big society. Everyone treated equally and progressively. I think that's very important.
Okay. How does this come about? And this is one of the things I'm intrigued to a certain degree. I mean, if you ever want to bring in equality, it's not that difficult to do it along the Cuban model, but unfortunately you bring in along equality on the lines where very few people are actually well off, and a large number of people aren't well off or completely dependent on the state sector. How do you see us addressing that in that sense of the word? Do you see it more addressed through what I would call government intervention, or somehow or other through supporting people to support themselves, sort of thing? In other words, the old argument of do we give them fish or do we teach them how to fish?
Look, when I think about equality, I have this strange vision that, equality of education, equality of healthcare, equality of opportunity, equality of access to the employment market. I mean, that's not a Sputnik moment. That's very attainable.
Okay.
And that's the best way we can achieve equality in this country, if we have the same level of opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, then coming back to what you're talking about, open government, transparency and all of that, which I think is a very important issue in this country. Half of the reason why we didn't have that was because positions tended to be in the past allocated along patronage lines. If you were associated with that party, and it's still very much the case in the social and voluntary sector, that government, political party, particularly the main parties, have an undue influence in that regard. Is that something we should be addressing?
Yeah, of course it's something we need to be addressing. But I suppose in the last decade, particularly since the crash, what we have is a wealth of newly politicised people coming through who are very adamant that we're going to change that. And not only, when we talk about kind of the responsibilities of my generation as a 28-year-old, we need to make sure we do not repeat the mistakes of the past. And I suppose so we need to be aware of that. And I see it in the main parties, I've seen it in some of the other smaller groupings where basically you get jobs depending on who your friends are. We need to make sure that those mistakes of the past are never replicated, and that is a responsibility of our generation.
A very interesting point then, Gary, because one of the things I'm seeing, and you've alluded to it yourself, a potential, how can I put it, a potential new property bubble. Whether you're seeing it through rents, other people are seeing it through increased building activity, a whole range of that. Have we really learned that lesson? The banks, they're essentially are going nowhere if you judge by the share price, but people are happy now to say, we go for the buy to let because I'll get an extra 10% off Gary every year, whereas if I just stick in the Bank of Ireland I'm lucky to get 2. Are we sleepwalking ourselves into another property bubble?
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Certainly every year when I get that phone call from the landlord and my throat clenches a little bit because I know there's 10% going on to my rent, where are we going with that? I mean, what would it cost us to regulate the market? It hasn't cost us nothing. This government has 4 years to sort out an ever-growing
Is it just ideological? Because the Germans seem to, if you go to Berlin, you can buy a decent apartment because they've got rent controls. You can't do that here.
It seems that way, doesn't it? It seems that we just cannot penetrate into that mindset. That actually we need to regulate. We need to have a little bit of courage. We're talking about a housing market. We're talking about the dignity of giving people a roof over their head. We absolutely needed to be doing something about that. And that means, in terms of challenging the ideology that's entrenched in this country, we probably need to do that.
although you're probably not going to have the final say on the matter, is there, if you look at potentially the makeup of the new government after the next Parliament or the next election, is there anybody there you wouldn't be able to go into government with, or is there any ones you would have, or do you? Does the Social Democrats favour what I call the Shane Ross option? You know, in a bit, out a bit, in a bit, out a bit. You know.
No, we certainly didn't favour the Shane Ross option. We're very much a political party.
Yeah.
And we described ourselves that way, and we're looking to do politics differently. It's been a very courageous way of setting up a party. In terms of, honestly, I've spent the last couple of weeks wondering how I'm going to pay for my posters, so I haven't really thought about coalitions or anything like that. In terms of, I'm just looking to provide a better standard of governments for Dublin Central and for Ireland as a whole.
Could you see yourself sitting down there at the table with Minister Finance Michael Noonan and saying Minister for the North Inner City Gary Gannon? Can you see that happening? Or
what do you think, Mick? In terms of, It's not on a reckoning at the moment. In terms of Social Democrats, we're only 10 weeks old.
Okay.
We're developing a party. And in terms of, we have a long-term vision, and when we want to get government, we want it to be on our terms.
Yep. Last but by no means least, Gary, what are you going for? What are you planning for a November election or February one or thereabouts?
Oh, change it. That literally changes every day. But I just think this government needs to come down, so when to bring it.
Yeah, bring it on, sort of thing.
Bring it on, yeah.
Okay, that would then leave Pascal a bit in the lurch with his Santa bag at Christmas if he wasn't in government, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, as I said, I've seen the wish list, but I'm not sure about actual delivery.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Will it rain, dear? That's what we all say. Anyway, that's about it for today. I want to thank Brian on the desk for doing such a fabulous job. Of course, I want to thank Councillor Gary Gannon and maybe Gary Gannon TD in the very near future. I'm Mick Fitz. I'll be back in a week's time. And of course, stay tuned. Sean Brophy will be coming up immediately after this programme with Midweek Music Dissemination.